Greetings, X-Zone Nation. This is Les Pedrogi from AskAPI.org. And you're listening to my old friend, Rob McConnell, on the X-Zone Radio Show, heard exclusively around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone, and this portion of the X-Zone is being brought to you by Douglas James Cottrell. Visit his website at www.douglasjamescottrell.com. He has some super articles there. He's got some books. He also has a new series on the year 2012. That's at www.douglasjamescottrell.com. My guest this hour is Dr. Rob MOIR, and Dr. MOIR is an educator, scientist, and activist with a proven history of institutional management and marine policy success. Dr. MOIR has been a leader of citizen science and efforts to clean up Salem Sound and Boston Harbor as president of the advocacy organization Salem Sound Harbor Monitors, Salem Sound 2000, and later Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, and through his appointment by the Secretary of the Interior to Boston Harbor Islands Partnership. He was formerly curator of the natural history at the Peabody Essex Museum, curator of education at the New England Aquarium, and executive director of the Discovery Museums in Acton, Massachusetts. Dr. MOIR was awarded a Switzer Environmental Fellowship from the Robert and Patricia Switzer Foundation and the James Centornio Award for Distinguished Performance in Marine Education by the National Marine Educators Association. He was a Sea Education Association's first assistant scientist to work consecutive voyages of the RV Westward. Dr. MOIR has a Ph.D. in Environmental Studies and a Master's of Science and Teaching from Anatoc, New England Graduate School in Keene, New Hampshire, and a Certificate of Study from the Biological Laboratory in Woods Hole. And Dr. MOIR, welcome to the X-Zone.
Thank you for the fabulous introduction. My goodness.
You are a very distinguished person, and we're very happy to have you with us here tonight, sir. Your organization is called Ocean River Institute. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, the Ocean River Institute takes its name from the work of Rachel Carson, who wrote about the ocean a lot and inspired us a lot. And at the end of one of her books, she says that in the end it's the ocean river that flows on forever and ever. And to me, it's talking about there being a system of not just oceans, but oceans connected to rivers, connected to watershed. And we help the people who are living closest to the natural resources, the oceans, the rivers, the shores, and help them to be guardians of the environment. And for that, we take Achilles had a shield that Homer talks about, and Homer said that on the shield was wrought the Oceanus, the ocean river. So it's a kind of a symbol of standing protection. And the Ocean River Institute is not wedded to one location. Instead, we wait to assist groups that have need, and we step in and help them, give them a credit, and then pull back and help out somewhere else.
Dr. Moyer, you and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break, sir. We will be right back. Dr. Robert Moyer is our special guest. www.oceanriver.org. That's www.oceanriver.org. 1-877-528-8255 is toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii. My name is Rob McConnell, and this is the X-Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network. If you'd like to give us a call, once again, our toll-free number is 1-877-528-8255. Toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii. Once again, at 1-877-528-8255. If you're interested in sending us an email because you don't want to go offline to make your calls, very simple, xzone@talkstarradio.com. Mind you, you can also send me an MSN message to talkstarradio@hotmail.com. And our website's www.xzoneradio.com and xzonetv.com. My producer tonight is Melanie, and my chat room moderator at xzonetv.com is Rob in Scarborough, Ontario. To the both of you, great working with you. And we'll be back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as we continue with Dr. Rob Moyer, whose website is www.oceanriver.org, right here on the Talkstar Radio Network from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Whatever you do, don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. Last Friday we had Brian O'Day on the show. He's the author of High, Confessions of an International Drug Smuggler. He was on CNN this morning, and he did a fantastic job. And if you'd like to visit Brian's website, it's www.brianodea.com. That's www.brianodea.com. My guest this hour is Dr. Rob Moyer, and Dr. Moyer, why hasn't there been more done to save the Earth after nearly 3 decades of hoopla since the first Earth Day? Don't people realize the trouble we're in?
Yes, people are very aware of the degradations to the environment they see happening all around them. And I think our mistake, and I was a high school student during the first Earth Day, and back then, we were going around saying, think globally, act locally. Mm-hmm. And we tended to think a lot about the big picture, and then we ended up being locally stupid or not locally in tune with what needed to be done on the local level. And that's where the changes really have to take place, is at the local level. So our approach is instead to listen locally, think, and then act locally. And if all of us do more of that, the whole world will be better. And so I think that's exciting that there's many things that can be done.
What can we do on a local level to save the oceans?
Well, of course, your lifestyle choices are important. That you don't throw pollutants or toxins mm-hmm. into the ocean, or put things down street drains that are tied to the rivers that are tied to the sea, and also, people need to speak up for issues they see going astray. And too often we rely on government to make sure that businesses and large users are doing things appropriately. And the way we cleaned up Boston Harbor was we created a barely restrained raucous mob of individuals who became the spokesperson for cleaning up the harbor and justified that we had to pay more for our water rates to get the harbor cleaned. So it's important that people work together. In the case of Boston Harbor, it was one lawyer who noticed that it was really gross what he was running in, But he knew all the judges in town. He knew he could call a judge, and he knew which judge would act. And so he called that judge, and the judge acted. He closed all the hookup of sewer lines for a day until they made him take it off. And so that alone wouldn't have done it, except a newspaper reporter took up the cause and publicized it. So it takes a village to save an environment, and it takes good communication.
So basically, what we need to do is to have a neighborhood watch system around our water supplies.
Absolutely.
Because
people like learning what's the heartbeat of the water supply, what's natural.
Mm-hmm.
So when they see things going astray, like a slick on the water, it gets reported.
Because actually, the citizens are the eyes, the ears, and the voice for the government. And we have to get involved.
Absolutely. Government responds to its constituents.
That's right.
And if we're being quiet, then those that need to, other people need to damage the system, saying that it costs them money and they shouldn't have to pay that. And so it's important that people speak up and they bring attention to these, these mistakes or these, misbehaviors.
Doctor, what are other communities doing to help save the oceans and the water?
The best thing is to just keep your eyes open to what's happening in your community. On Saturday, I was standing beside the Westfield River, which is a cold stream salmon river in Massachusetts. And the locals are upset because they want to build a biomass generator there that will burn wood, which is better than burning oil. But they want to take a lot of water out of the river to cool the generators. And that's fine right now when there's 1,000 cubic feet per second going down the river, but in the fall, the river is very low, and it's very important that that water not be taken out then. And so scientists studied it and testified, don't take the water out, and the government has issued the permit without listening to the scientific reasons. So the citizens are very active right now because it's time to have the government rethink that permitting process and make the power company have available air-cooled systems for their generators during those times they shouldn't take the water. So the key is to be opportunistic and to be aware of what's happening, because other groups will act when it's too late, and then it costs a lot of money to take people into court and stuff.
What happens, Doctor, if the water is taken out of the river, and how will it affect the ecosystem?
Good question. This particular river is cut down through metamorphic granite rock and so forth. And surprisingly, it's not just in a trough of cement. That the river bottom is porous, and the river is tied to the aquifer, the groundwater next to it. So when the water is very low, water from the ground should seep into the river and cool the river, and the salmon need cold water. And they also need water at all, so taking the water out is detrimental. Also, they're taking out 880,000 gallons a day.
Wow.
They evaporate that, and they put in 100,000 gallons back in that has got more chemicals mixed in that didn't evaporate, and it's warmer. So this is extremely stressful for salmon, and the state has spent $600 million to help restore salmon to the river, so it would be kind of nice to keep the salmon going there.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Doctor, but wouldn't that increase in temperature also cause an increase in the algae in the river?
Yeah. This is just during the months of August or...
oh, I see.
When the water's really low.
Right.
In the springtime, there's 1,000 times more water than they're going to pull out, so that won't be an issue. But that's a good question.
I've heard something about a sea lamprey rebellion. Now, aren't sea lampreys the grossest fish in the ocean?
They are certainly the grossest fish in the ocean. They are so primitive; they don't have real bones in their body. They just kind of have cartilage stuff, and they're parasitic. They grab onto fish and parasitize them. And in the Great Lakes, they're just the worst thing ever. So the sea lamprey rebellion is talking about sea lampreys that are indigenous to rivers in New England coming in through the Atlantic Ocean, not from Lake Champlain or something. And these ugly lampreys, the males arrive first, and they start moving rocks around the size of a fist, so two lampreys will get on either side of a rock and move it to create kind of a nesting site. And this movement of rocks, the water is shallow and ripply already, and the movement of rocks accelerates the water flowing by, and it gouges out the interstitial stuff that's on the bottom of the river right next to the nest, which makes it better nesting for the bridle shiners and some of the indigenous fish in the river. So the moral of the sea lamprey is that they actually leave an environment better off than they find it. And so the sea lamprey rebellion is the lowly citizens, those of us who have little power in government, standing up to government and saying, listen, government, leave environments better off than you find it. Don't make it worse.
How do you see the new administration working for the environment?
Well, the new administration is like all administrations. I expect you're asking me about the American administration.
Yes, sir, I am.
Politicians, governments, they have to respond to the citizens.
Yes.
If the citizens aren't speaking up, they're not going to do the work. So in the case of Massachusetts, there's this big push for alternative energy sources like biomass generating.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to railroad right over some of the environmental protections, just like the oil people used to do. We got to do it quickly, and so people have to stand up and say, no, you have to do it correctly. And it's the same thing at the federal administration, that those things that are being spoken out for, you have to make it politically appropriate for politicians to hang in there.
Are you seeing positive changes when it comes to the environment, sir, or are you seeing just a lot of spinning wheels?
I am seeing lots of positive changes. Of course, the new administration brought in Jane Lutsenko to head up NOAA, and that she is just a fantastic biologist. So it's so exciting to hear the intelligence coming out of all the different committees. Salazar, the Colorado senator who is Interior and stuff. But also, people are standing up. People are noticing, and they're speaking up, and it's a steady progress. And unfortunately, it's just that when you aren't looking, someone's going to go in and develop, and suddenly you've lost something. So those are disappointments. And we're discovering, like, plastics are long-lasting, and they're not very toxic, except they break into tiny little bits. And they're finding in the albatrosses in the middle of the ocean on these far-flung islands that their bellies are full of plastic.
Oh, gosh.
And that's making them more susceptible to problems. And this is also an issue with fish, that little fish eat the plastic, eaten by the big fish, and so forth. So we keep discovering new things that all goes back to an ethic of, guys, don't put garbage in the ocean. You got to use plastic, recycle it, and not let it get out there.
I find it very funny that, well, it's not funny in the ha-ha sense, but funny that the manufacturers who are responsible for plastic haven't come up with an alternative sealing supplier or something else that can bind the product together or protect the product besides plastic, something that is biodegradable.
Yeah.
Because I've heard stories about seagulls or other birds around the water that get these beer can plastic things on their feet, and God, it's a mess. It's just truly a mess. Dr. Moir, you and I have to take a commercial break, sir. We'll be back after the news. Dr. Rob Moir is our special guest. www.oceanriver.org. That's www.oceanriver.org. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with Dr. Rob Moir as the X Zone continues live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. X Zone Nation, don't go away. We'll be right back.
How's a pumpkin?
You were a pumpkin.
How's a pumpkin? A big orange pumpkin.
A big orange pumpkin. And were there a lot of children out there?
Not so much.
No? Did you get a lot of candy?
Yeah, I got a lot of candy. Mommy's eating all the chocolate bars.
Well, tell Mommy that's your candy, honey.
Okay.
Tell her.
Stop eating all my chocolate bars, Mommy. Daddy's sick.
Hi, this is Eric Rawls of Cosmoverse.com, and you're listening to Rob McConnell in the X Zone.
Hi, this is Blade Runner, and you are listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, I'm Laura Sabrin of Feast to Fields Organic Vineyard in Jordan, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, my name is Lady Ashley, the White Witch of Niagara-on-the-Lake, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal talk radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Walking through forests of hungry parchments, scoff at the monkeys who live in their dark tents. Down by the waterhole, drunk every Friday, eating their nuts, saving their raisins for Sunday. Lions and tigers who wait in the shadows, they're fast but they're lazy and sleep in green meadows. Well, that's bungle in the jungle. Well, that's alright by me. Yes, well, I'm a tiger when I want love, but I'm a snake if we disagree. Just say a word.
Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. 1-877-528-8255 is toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii. You can always send an email to xzone@talkstarradio.com or chat with us online using MSN Messenger. The address is talkstarradio@hotmail.com, and our websites www.xzoneradio.com and www.xzonetv.com. My guest this hour is Dr. Rob MOIR. He's an educator, scientist, and activist with a proven history of institutional management and marine policy success. And Doctor, welcome back to the X Zone.
Thank you.
Tell me about 350 parts per million CO2 in our atmosphere. Isn't that less than there is already?
Yes, that is less than there is already. So before the Industrial Revolution, or when the Industrial Revolution was beginning, we were at 250 parts per million of carbon in the atmosphere. And then with industrialization, the levels went up faster than they would have had there been no industrialization or growth of human activity. And at that time, scientists figured that, things were going upwards, and that, when it gets to 500, that's going to be really bad, But it turned out that was just an easy doubling of the 250 number, and so they would use that for their calculations. And in 1888, a Swedish scientist calculated that if the parts per million went up to 350, the temperature, or 360, I forget the exact number, that the temperature of the Earth would increase by 2 degrees, as according to the laws of thermodynamics. So recently, Jim Hansen is a renowned scientist here in the U.S., and he has been studying the planet and has realized, he's pretty sure that 350 is kind of the healthy level for the planet. It's sort of like our body temperature, and if we get much above 98.6 in our body temperature, things start going awry, and it's not acceptable just to have a nice round, easy, 100-degree temperature for us, nor is it acceptable to have a very high parts per million in carbon in the atmosphere. And so the ultimate goal should be to reduce our emissions to the point that the Earth can return to 350 parts per million.
Tell me, Doctor, is global warming real, or is it a figment of everybody's imagination?
Well, global warming is a tricky term. There's no doubt that the carbon and other gases are increasing in the atmosphere. And then there is this, greenhouse theory of how with more gases, the heat will be trapped in the Earth more, and it will warm up. So and as I told you about the scientist, he in the 1880s,
Yes.
he could calculate that, yes, the temperature of the Earth would increase with increasing carbon dioxide in the atmosphere.
How is the present-day environment affecting the ecosystem in harbors and in areas that are close to major centers?
I'm sorry, how is the what affecting the ecosystem?
For example, pollution. How is pollution and the present environment affecting the ecosystems in harbors and in areas that are close to major centers that enjoy a lakefront or an oceanfront locale?
Right. Wow, there are all kinds of ways. You know, you mentioned earlier algae possibly blooming with warmer water. Algae and things like that bloom with increased nutrients. And so when you get more effluent coming off of city streets, it can lead to more detrimental growth of stuff in the harbor. We have a problem with these long-lasting toxins. The latest one is the fire retardants that we put on our clothing and stuff and fabrics to keep from burning. Those don't break down, and as the clothes are rotting in your landfill, the water is carrying that gets through there, or however somehow fire retardants are increasing in the bodies of animals. And there's a number of toxins that when animals consume those toxins, they are stored in fat cells and increase in concentration as you move up the food chain. So Dr. Roger Payne has been walking around talking about how that a swordfish is a 10th level predator. You know, there's 10 levels of food going down from big swordfish to little, to medium, to little, to tiny, to little diatoms. So that a pound of swordfish is going to require 10 to the 6 or 1 million pounds of diatoms to give you that pound of swordfish on your plate. And so those diatoms have toxins in them, and our livers have to clean up those toxins. And 1 million tons of diatoms is like 50,000 dump trucks that we hook our livers to work through the chemicals that are concentrated in that pound of swordfish. So the trick there is I eat seafood, but I recommend eating lower on the food chain to avoid those accumulations.
Are there any fish that are facing extinction because of the environment?
Yes. I was recently working on the Atlantic ocean fish that the Conservation Law Foundation and other groups have found that this Atlantic wolffish is decreasing in numbers. It's kind of a solitary, ugly fellow that hangs around on the bottom of in caves and on rocky bottoms, and they'll dart out to crunch on a sea urchin or a crab, and they're being actively sought by fishermen, and their numbers are just getting too low, and so we're trying to get them listed as an endangered species. On the other hand, on the other end of the spectrum of fish are menhaden and herring that are schooling fish, and they're easy to virtually vacuum up out of the ocean, and we have to be careful not to take too many. Again, the fish, right now the fish are worried about overfishing, but as the carbon increases in the atmosphere, it infuses into the ocean, and as carbon increases in the ocean waters, it makes the water more acidic. And as it becomes more acidic, it becomes more difficult for the calcium. That's the way we hardwire our bodies, our neurons are with this metal called calcium. And if the water becomes too acidic, then the neural functions of the more primitive or the larval stages of marine life are going to start breaking down. And so that could be a loss of species in that direction.
You know, I was talking to a school teacher a couple of days ago, and the schools are trying their best to better teach the kids about the environment, what to do, what not to do, but they're saying there's just not enough funding available for all the programs that are necessary in order to get the kids behind all these projects. No, I thought that was a rather lame excuse, personally.
Yes, it is.
You know, it's like, all right, we're just going to play ostrich, put our head in the sand, and you guys take care of it.
Yeah, no, most school curriculum, especially the science curriculum, has wonderful environmental lessons in it. And the kids that I meet all over the country are very environmental savvy. If only we could put our decision makers into those classrooms.
Oh, boy.
You know, and it's so frustrating because the kids they know that intuitively what it's bad to throw plastic in the ocean. Mm-hmm. Never mind how long it takes to degrade. It's just bad. And, you know, and so they come up with these ideas, and we're told to go teach the children. And I prefer teaching politicians myself. You know, I go down and teach congressmen and senators in the U.S. government. And I get their attention by, you know, working with them on issues that they want to pass, but explaining to them that if you want to get known as a good candidate, then you have to say you're for ocean conservation, for example. And we did that with a candidate down in Florida, and when he got elected, we helped him get elected through the primary, which was the hard part. And then when he got elected, he immediately stood up against Bush, and he was a Republican himself, and said, don't drill off the coast of Florida. And for a freshman politician to stand against their boss, they've got to have outspoken citizens that have made a promise to do so. So it's very important that children write to their politicians. And, you know, many parents, many adults I know, don't become interested in environments until they have children, and then they're joined at the hip, and all of a sudden, you know. So
yeah.
That was a fun thing about teaching in a Discovery Museum, was that I would get these parents, because they'd come with the kids, and you could, you know, get the lessons closer to the decision makers than the children.
Well, what's the old saying? If you want to teach the parents something, let the kids know.
That's right.
Yeah. Tell me, speaking about drilling in the Gulf of Mexico, there are vast number of oil rigs. Isn't that just a disaster waiting to happen?
I don't know. I don't know the technology of you know, they have oil rigs in the North Sea off Scotland, and they see a lot worse weather up there than in Mississippi, than in the Gulf of Mexico. But then again, I don't know if they build them in the Gulf of Mexico like they build them off the North Sea. The rigs also provide, you know, holdfasts and habitat for marine life, and that can be helpful. They're installing I was talking to the local diving association, and I was telling them they were putting in this liquid natural gas terminal off of Gloucester, Massachusetts, and their eyes all lit up because they wanted to go scuba diving around this thing, and I couldn't tell them that Homeland Security isn't going to like a bunch of amateur, you know, scuba divers going around in there. But because of the fish and the wildlife that these rigs can bring around them, it was attracting the divers.
But there seems to be a lot more artificial reefs also being created offshore for divers.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the first time I've heard there are a lot more, but that is what needs to be done. I mean, we have these conservationists like myself saying, you know, don't fish here and don't fish there, but we're not putting in we're not restoring depleted areas so that in the future the fishermen can go somewhere else. I'm actually been contracted by a group of scuba divers in the British Virgin Islands who have an old sailing ship that's 200 feet long, and they would like to sink it as an artificial reef and as a dive site, and they would do it where there aren't corals. It's on a flat bottom, you know, between the coral reefs, and we have to worry about disturbing barrel sponges that are on the bottom, but they seem to have a good site on it. So that's a wonderful win-win situation where you're restoring more habitat for the fish that we all want to eat and catch and stuff, and you're, you know, helping local recreation with diving and stuff.
There's a group of citizens in British Columbia that they were able to get their hands on the fuselage of a DC-9, and they sunk it in order to create an artificial reef for fish.
Reef.
Yeah, and I understand the United States Navy has also deliberately sank a number of ships in areas that have been bid for by different states and different locations for artificial reefs as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
As long as they clean them up before they sink them, that's great.
Oh, yeah, there was an entire show on Discovery about it, and they go left, they just go right through the entire ship. It takes months in order to make sure that ship is prepared properly to become a reef.
Yeah. That's excellent.
Yeah.
They
Doctors,
also took one of the stadiums in Baltimore, Memorial Stadium, and they took the cement from that and put it out for to grow oysters on in Chesapeake Bay, and so that's kind of cool too.
Doctor, stand by. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. Dr. Rob MOIR is our special guest. His website is www.oceanriver.org. That's www.oceanriver.org. You know, the planet is everyone's home, so everyone is responsible for keeping this planet safe and sound and healthy. Contact your local marine habitat, your local government agency, your wildlife and stream management people. See what you can do to help make a difference in the world's ecosystems and environment. After all, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. When I come back from this 4-minute break, I'll continue with Dr. Rob MOIR as the X Zone continues live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. We'll be back right after this break.
Attention, female dieters.
They look so radical. Hearing your words, they sound fanatical. Something inside reveals you're magical. How can I get enough?
1-877-528-8255. Toll free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii. My name is Rob McConnell. Dr. Rob MOIR is our special guest, and I understand that you went scuba diving for the first time in March with a cameraman who worked for Cousteau.
Yes.
What was it like?
I snorkel a lot, and I didn't want to go scuba diving because it hurts my ears when I go down about 30 feet. I feel the world closing in on me, and yet I was working with the people in British Virgin Islands to sink this sailing ship as an artificial reef. And one of the dive shops said, "Oh, come on out, and I'll take you down." And he kind of kidnapped me and put a scuba on my back and had me try it out in the swimming pool first. And then we marched off the back of a boat and off onto a reef. And the trick was that they had a rope hanging down with knots in it every 3 feet down the rope. And I would go down one knot and with the instructor and have my hand on my nose and blow into my head and equalize the pressure, and then go down another knot. And if it started to hurt too much, you'd go up a knot and blow into your nose and stuff. So as long as there's a rope hanging down, I can go scuba diving. And it was amazing being down there and the freedom of it. But the process is one that one has to learn how to do.
Doctor, quickly, what can is there an ABCs that you can let our listeners know what they can do to make the waters, both the natural water streams as well as the ocean, better places for one and all?
Yes, and it goes for all kinds of the environments, and making our environment's a better place to live. And it's really 3 steps. It's just listen locally. What do you see? What are going on? Some of the best conservationists are sportsmen and hunters that are out there on a regular basis, and they see stuff. And so then think about what you're seeing. Is it significant? Is it a change that is it not normal? And then act locally. Don't try to save the whole world, but just specifically to that one thing. Is there one pipe that's got stuff coming out of it, or is there one an unusual animal lying on the side of the road? What? And I guess communicate it. So I used to be a science teacher, and science was observing, recording, communicating, and questioning. And that's pretty much how we're going to, make this place a better place to live.
Doctor, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you for all the great work that you're doing, and we look forward to the next time when we meet here in the X Zone.
Thank you very much.
Good night, sir. Dr. Rob Moir, his website is www.oceanriver.org. That's www.oceanriver.org. When we come back from the news at the top of the hour at 6.5 minutes past, we're going to be joined by Shauna Godfrey. We're going to be talking about International Day of Families in May, National Purposeful Parenting in July, and we're also going to be talking about children with ADD and a lot more. After all, this is the X Zone on Talkstar. Don't go away.